Hello gang, welcome to the channel, and today we're going into the hot topic of this update, which is the crafting event CTP of Insight and where to put this CTP of Insight. This is the top 10 list in my opinion for the support characters you should utilize CTP of Insight. About the event specifically, I did a live stream like 2 days ago, so you can go into my live streams and see how you're gonna be able to pick up all the CTP of Insights and how I did picking up them. But for the characters that you're going to use, we're gonna go now one by one in the top 10, but also in some honorable mentions that you can also utilize the CTP of Insight. I'm trying to keep the top 10 list out of the paywall uniform that they are seasonal and there's not a lot of people having them, or having them only the veterans or the old players. So I'm gonna separate the supports that you can go right now and buy the uniform or Black Friday, and after I'm gonna mention all the others that they have seasonal uniforms and they're really good pickups. But yes, you can't go right now give them the insight without the uniform and participate into all these game modes that I'm gonna mention. But before we go through that, I want you to make sure that you have smashed the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you can get all the awesome content we're dropping from the shorts, from the videos and the live streams. Also, let me know down below in the comments what CTP of Insight you have picked up. Did you get the normal? Did you get the chest, the mighty, the brilliant? How many tries? Let's have some conversation about that. I was really lucky. I dropped a sword couple of hours ago showing you how lucky I was with the mighty and the normal, and now I'm struggling with the brilliant and the chest. So yeah, let's not delay it more. Let's go into the number 10. So on number 10 we have one of the, basically the only tier 2 character that really deserves to get a CTP of Insight, and he's no other than Mutaku. Mutaku provides you a support buff, a passive ability to all allies, 45% damage against supervillains, but in the same time he providing you a leadership with physical attack, and also his tags allows him to get used for ABL and ABX combat hero or combat human days. So cause of that, he totally deserved getting a CTP of Insight, and combined having his artifact also 4-star or 3-star or 5-star or whatever star you have it, it provides you extra damage, extra all attack actually for your character. So he is a better leadership slash support than Sif, and in the same time he covers the human day when Sif is an alien and can't be used there. So in my opinion, Mutaku is a really good pickup for the CTP of Insight, and I would start the list with him because he's only tier 2, and you can only get value for him for Alliance Conquest, for let's say Otherworld Battle, or ABL and ABX mainly. So yeah, let's go into number 9. Number 9 on this list is Valkyrie. Valkyrie provides one of the best supports for generic support actually for all characters. It's 55 damage against supervillain. Also, she's having a reduction from supervillain, so you can use her for PvP too sometimes, and also she's providing the ignore dodge. But the point is that I'm dropping her into the 9th spot. She could be at the very first spot, but the fact that she is usable for ABX, female, combat day, C and She-Hulk and Titania are the 3 best DPS that you have to tag play them and do more than 11 million for ABX. As soon as there is another character being the top DPS for this day, she could be, at the top position of this list. But at the moment, the fact that she is better used with the CTP of Raids gives you the vibes, that you don't want to waste the insight on here, because you're going to get the maximum value out of your CTP of Insight. But for the most people that don't really care to do the maximum for ABX, Valkyrie is a really good pickup, and that's why she is at the number 9 of this list. Of course, you need her uniform, but even if without her uniform, she can provide really good support. So having or not the uniform, it's not really important. The important thing is to understand that a raid or proc could help you more with the ABX female day, and in the same time her artifact is not a must-have, but helps you give her a really a better, you know, support buff, like 8% damage against bosses. So yeah, that's my pickup for 9. Let's go to number 8. On number 8 we have the PvP dude, Colossus. Colossus providing a really unique buff for you for PvP. It's a buff that it's really unique. I mean, providing you damage decreased for superhero and supervillain, you know, 50%. This is huge, and this is really helpful if you're struggling having 3 DPS for timeline battle, but in the same time you can utilize him a lot for otherworld battle. For otherworld battle you can't actually use leaderships, so this support buff, it's one of the best defensive support buff for otherworld battle, and if you go into the top teams of otherworld battle, everyone is using Colossus. So even if you have this uniform or the previous uniform, you need one of these two to get the maximum out of this buff. You want to use him with the CTP of Insight, and Colossus, to be honest, is one of the only characters. Actually, I have a mighty insight on him. For the rest, I have like a normal insight. But in my opinion, you know, he is low in the list because you don't actually need to use a support character if you have 3 really busted DPS for timeline battle. So his use mainly for a top account is on otherworld battle and alliance conquest, let's say. For timeline, you prefer using like Jean, Adam, Wolverine, or whoever you have a really good build for PvP. So yeah, let's go to number 7. Number 7, it's Ghost Panther, and Ghost Panther, it's a character that actually is really unique for specific DPSs, like Jean Grey and generally all the characters that have fire damage. Of course, right now in the meta, it's actually only Jean Grey, I think, for the fire DPS, you know, but the fact that he provides 50% fire damage, 45% supervillain damage, you know, damage against supervillain, and in the same time a leadership for 30% fire damage, you can actually potentially get a 80% fire damage for your leadership and support for Jean Grey, and in the same time you can have a solid buff here, a 45% for all allies. So you can use him with villains, you can use him with heroes, but the main source, you know, the main use for him, it's ABX and ABL. You can use him for Universal Hero Day, you can use him for the free day of Jean Grey, and generally you're gonna end up using him a lot for World Boss Legend also, because of his agility tag, you know, he's super useful, and because of his Universal Human Male tag. Makes him one of the only supports for Universal Male generic, you know, I don't think that there is a lot for male universal right now, perhaps he's the only. That's why I'm suggesting you also getting him a nice insight. So yeah, that's my number 7, and let's go to number 6. Number 6 is Polaris, and Polaris providing you one of the best leadership slash support in the game, but it's only for mutant allies. So that's why she's kind of below in the list, because she's providing you 45% here damage against supervillain, but in the same time a leadership with 45% again for all mutant. So you can use here for Magneto, you can use here for Namor, Jean Grey, and generally there are multiple, you know, you can use here for Wolverine also, but Wolverine is mostly for PvP. But yes, there is a lot of mutant characters being top of the meta right now, and the main, you know, the main reason for you to have an insight on here, it's to boost your ABL score with Storm. Storm also can get, you know, you can provide here support with Polaris or Cable. For these 2 ABL days that they want you specific to use the villain, the superhero mutant characters, and also the I give the fast movement she has and the energy projection are not really helpful because they're not similar characters, you know, being also mutant. For fast movement it's Black Bolt, you know, the only tier 4 we have, and for energy projection is only Magneto, so there is Magneto. But in the same time, Blast Mutant female tag, it's really rare, and you want to have an insight for her for other than ABL for real high stages of World Boss Legend. So in my mind, it's totally worth it, and if you have a spare insight, she is really good for it, and that's why I have her on number 6. So yeah, let's go now to number 5. Number 5 is no other than Siri. Siri just came into the game with a new uniform that provides her a extra buff for leadership actually, and makes her one of the best support slash leaderships in the game, but it's only for speed types. So I'm having her in the list, but she's not necessary to have here an insight. And why I'm saying that, if you are a low spender, if you don't have a tier 4 speed type, if you're struggling finding the tier 4 speed type that you want to do, this is the best tier 3 DPS, tier 3 level 70 DPS speed type that you can have for ABL and ABX. So you want to use her with the raids. If you have multiple tier 4s, you know, and having speed tier 4 also, you want to give her an insight, but it's not only for ABL and ABX, because it's one of the best, you know, 55%, and also this 40% damage decrease for supervillains. It's really helpful for Otherworld battle, for Alliance Conquest, or Timeline battle. If you're struggling having DPS for PvP, you know, you can make a team with Colossus and Siri and the main DPS and go there and destroy all the Timeline battle with double support. Because think about this decreased damage from supervillains, and right now there is a lot of supervillains into the meta of Timeline battle, so combined with Colossus, they both stack Colossus buff and this buff, you know, your character is going to be unbeatable against someone like Thanos, let's say, Carnage, let's say, or there is others right now, Jean Grey also, yeah. So she's really useful for PvP and PvE, and the fact that she is a human female speed character gives, and having the leadership also gives her the opportunity to be used for multiple World Boss Legend stages. So yeah, in my opinion, Siri really worth it, even if I don't have an insight for her, because ABL and ABX days it's covered with other supports also there, but I'm gonna mention about them later on. So yeah, that's the number 5. Let's go to number 4. In number 4 I have Proxima. Proxima, it's only a support if you buy here the last uniform she has, and with the last uniform she provides a buff 35 damage against supervillain, but against superhero also. She's usable only for supervillain, but the point is that combine that to the fact that she's an alien, female, universal type, and having the fast movement and the agility tag on her kit provides her multiple days for ABL and ABX that you can use here. There is a supervillain day for ABX, there is a female day, supervillain female day for ABL, and you can use here also for a alien ABL day. So it's like 3 or 4 days of ABL and ABX that you can use here, and in the same time take advantage of the tags and use here for multiple days of for multiple stages actually of World Boss Legend. I'm finding myself using her a lot lately, so yes, don't sleep on that. And combined also with her leadership, she is a really solid lead and support in the same time for World Boss Legend and ABL ABX, as I told you. So that's my number 4 pick, and let's go to number 3. Number 3 is Angela, and Angela just came into the game, and the fact that she took this support buff on her uniform feels like, you know, finally we have another character for ABX to use, because previously you couldn't use any supports for the ABX female universal day. basically Hero Universal Female Day or something of ABX, but in the same time she provides this 40% buff for all superhero allies. The fact that she has these tags helps her. The Weapon Master tag, it's actually really helpful for multiple World Boss Legend, and in the same time she can provide to to all Alien Universal female characters. So the tag on these characters, it's the only fact that gives them this high position on this list. And Angela just came into the game and she gonna carry your account for ABX, ABL and World Boss Legend multiple stages, multiple days. So she is a win 100%. Totally worth getting a CTP of Insight in my mind. So that's why I have here at number 3. So let's go to number 2. Number 2, it's another recent character we just took, and it's no other than Enchantress. Enchantress providing you a really solid support, but in the same time a really good leadership. The leadership that gives you all debuffs increase for your characters, providing you an extra 40% for all the effects on your account. For effects also, it's CTP of Insight, so you can get a better CTP of Insight with her, you can get a better CTP of Raids for your DPS character, but in the same time, the actual support buff that she provides for all supervillain allies, it's really important. It's like 60% in total, it's 20% basic attack and 40% increased damage to boss types. So you can use her for multiple days of ABX and ABL, and she can provide support for a lot of stages of World Boss Legend. Again, for the same reason, being an alien and a female, the mind and the magic is not really useful right now for for World Boss Legend, a lot actually. But yes, Blast, female, alien and supervillain makes her being at the top 2 of this list, and also sees a character that you can farm through Dimension Mission here bios. Build here, and you actually need only her uniform. She's not a character that you need to wait for seasonal or something. So this is the number 2 in my mind, and let's go to the absolute number 1. He's in the game like more than 3 years and still one of the best PVE support. And he is no other than Taskmaster. And for Taskmaster, a lot of people is confused. They believe that he's providing only a support buff for Weapon Master allies, and that's true. He's doing that. Weapon Master allies this day are a lot of people. There is Cable, there is Moon Knight, there is Gamora, and that's the main I can't think about right now. But these 3 are really, really cool characters to use. But the main reason is with his uniform, he's getting an extra 40% damage against superhero and supervillains for all allies. So whatever you have, he can be there supporting you, and he is like the best character for ABX supervillain combat and ABX combat human and ABX combat villain. I can't remember the tags, but yes, he is all over the place, and the fact that he has the tags for Weapon Master helps him a lot for World Boss Legend, and Combat Human Male tag, it's a tag that you can see multiple times for World Boss Legend. But yes, that's the final guy for the list, but as I told you, there are multiple others that you can actually use a CTP of Insight. There is 5 or 6 more characters that I'm gonna mention right now. Fast forward through them because I don't want the video to go too long. But yes, these dudes are totally worth it, but they have the paywall or seasonal uniforms, so you have to know them. And let's go to the leftovers and the honorable mentions of the support that you can drop the CTP of Insights. And now I'm going at the opposite side. I'm going like the number 1. You should go and put an Insight. If you have his uniform, it's absolute, he's all over the ABL and ABX, and it's no other than Mysterio. He took his uniform skyrockets his value a lot, and he provides supervillains this buff. 30% and 40%, which is 70 in total, 70% buff for your supervillain. Magneto completely ruling ABL and ABX for Blast Villain and Blast Male, so he's the number one to give him an insight, and the tags gives him, you know, the opportunity to use him a lot of days of stages of World Boss Legend 2. So let's go to number 2 really fast. Number 2 is Fox, and Fox without her uniforms is not the absolute best for a lot of characters, because you need to be, to get a value out of her leadership tag, you need to have the leadership tag on your characters. If you don't have this leadership tag, you can't actually get any buff from her without the uniform. But with the uniform, she's the number one support for multiple days of ABL and ABX, providing support to Gwen and Luna, which is the top two characters for these stages. One is paywall, one is not, so, you know, even if you have Gwen, she is the number one to support your Gwen, so yeah. For number 3, let's say Morgan Le Fay, and Morgan Le Fay, it's not used to be a support, but after her paywall uniform, where the paywall uniform is coming on Halloween, she provides a 35% solid for universal type characters, so she's super useful for ABL and ABX, and she's one of the best support to use with Jean Grey also. The Evil tag that she has here gives her, the pure Evil tag actually gives her the opportunity to be used for World Boss Legend 2, and the universal female human, it's a really rare tag to ignore. So Morgan Le Fay, it's totally worth a CTP of Insight 2. As fourth choice, I could go for Black Cat, and Black Cat has the, you know, the disadvantage that she is tier 2, but even as a tier 2, with her last uniform and only with this uniform, she provides a really solid leadership for all your supervillain characters. And the leadership providing you 65% damage generally and ignore dodge. So she is a really solid support for all supervillains. She's the number one lead support / support for all your supervillains for ABL and ABX. So that's why a lot of people using her for Jean Grey Free Day or Jean Grey Villain Female Day or something. So yes, she is a solid pick for CTP of Insight 100%, and if she gets the Awaken or the tier 3, she's gonna be really good. But also her uniform, it's a seasonal one, so you need to pick her up the season that she's able to be picked up for real money. So yeah. Number 5 has also the same reasons that she's not at the top 10. She is a tier 2. She is a character that you don't need a uniform for her, and you don't need an actual seasonal uniform, but the buff is specific and it's only for mutant allies. She's tier 2, so you can use her only for ABX and ABL, but in the same time, for the same taste, you have Polaris that's providing, you know, the lead and support in the same time. So in my mind, Polaris deserves more the CTP of Insight than Dazzler, but as soon as Dazzler going to be a tier 2, a tier 3 or a Awaken character, she's gonna be skyrocket at the top 10 100%, because she's not actually needs a uniform to be there. Another really good character to go for, it's Wave, and she was one of the best to pick up this CTP of Insight, but after Luna and Gwen replaced Shadow Cell and Gamora and Black Widow for ABX and ABL days, you don't actually need an insight on her. She's providing a really good support, of course, but it's only, you know, and she's unnecessary if you already have Fox. If you don't have Fox, you know, she or Siri is the best pick up for the CTP of Insight. Mystique also, if you're missing Black Cat, Mystique is the only really good support for the Speed Villain Day of ABX, so you don't need her uniform, you just want to drop here a CTP of Insight and she can work, and the tier 2, and she is really there for you every single mutant World Boss Legend, every single you know, stage that you want to clear for ABX and ABL, no restrictions. She's a solid, but you know, she's falling behind because there is others with bigger number support buff, and the fact that she gives you only 40% and nothing else, it's kind of lame right now. And the final character I would go and drop a CTP of Insight actually is Wasp. She's really good for world boss, actually for other world battle, and the fact that she provides this buff here, 20% all 20% HP, and the buff remove all debuffs for all team, gives her a really special place for other world battle. But right now she gets replaced from Strife, and Strife doesn't use an insight, so the insight goes to Colossus or Siri for the top meta other world battle teams. But if you are not at the top of the meta, Wasp totally works and CTP of Insight. And I think I mentioned all the characters you actually deserve to give them an insight. So yeah, this took me a bit longer than I was expecting, but I feel like I covered all the stages of ABX, ABL, I covered all the World Boss Legend requirements that we actually have supports, and all the PvP aspects of the game. So if you drop these 16 characters, the insight, you don't have to worry about anything. All the characters, all your all your account and all the game modes are going to be full on the insight. So yeah, let me know if I helped you decide where to go to drop your insight down below in the comments. And as I told you, what are you doing with the crafting event and the CTP insights? So yes, I hope you enjoyed. I hope I helped you decide. See you into the next. Kisses in your faces.